Wow, I'm really excited about doing this video today because I think I've said I'm my own worst critic probably my whole life. I think this chicken right now that I have following me around might might be my worst critic right now, but I've said this so much in my life. Well, I'm my own worst critic. I'm a perfectionist, as if it was like a badge of honor, as if it was like this good thing, and it's uh, it's really a major limiting belief, and I hear it from so many different people. I'm my own worst critic. I'm always hold my feet to the fire, and what that really means is that there's that inner voice in our heads, right? That part of you that's going to say things like, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not smart enough, or that's not for me, that's for rich people. I hear that being said. I hear people holding themselves back by saying, I'm my own worst critic, rather than say I'm my own best ally, or something like that. You know, people say, I don't have the discipline, I'm too lazy, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough. And that is a really dangerous thing to be saying. Sorry, just trying to move the chicken because it keeps biting my leg. But it loves me. So, you know, a lot of us do this, and this is this inner critic that ends up driving us crazy, and really prevents us from being the person that we need to be, and the person that we really want to be. You know, it's actually an inner voice that comes from fear that holds us back. And when I say fear, I don't mean like the fear that is like I'm scared of heights or spiders or sharks or swimming in deep water. I'm talking about all the little fears that we deal with on a daily basis. I'm talking about the ones that get shrouded by something that holds you back, because it's easier to say I am not blah blah blah, or that's not for me, because we're actually scared. It's easier to say, well, no, I'm just not good at golf, or I'm just not good at tennis, or I'm just not good at people skills, or I'm just not good at public speaking. And that might be entirely true, but there was a time where you weren't good at brushing your teeth, or going to the bathroom, or putting your own clothes on. The reality is you can learn to do whatever you want to do, but you've got to be able to face they're actually fears, that are these limiting beliefs that we have. You know, they live inside of each one of us, these little voices in our head, and they can either be your biggest ally, or they can hold you back. And when they hold you back big time. And we don't even realize it, because it's so easy to just say, well, I'm just not good at that, or that's not for me. I'm not pretty enough. I wasn't born with blonde hair and blue eyes, or I wasn't born 6 foot tall and muscular, or whatever you might say to yourself. We all have our own things. So I'll give you, my own personal example, because really what happens is these fears at first, we don't have them, and we have a situation where we're judged or criticized, and then they go up to protect us from doing things, but we carry them through to so many other moments where they're just completely irrelevant. And that's why I'm doing the webinar I'm doing, because we all have these little fears, this voice in our head with this own worst critic voice that will drive us crazy. So, the year I turned 24 easily could have been the lowest point of my life. I mean, it started off awesome, right? I was living in the south of Sweden, and I was living with a girl that I had met in Madrid, Swedish girl, and amazing woman. And things just started getting tough, and financially tough, and they put a lot of constraints on us. What happened was we were actually receiving government assisted living to pay our rent. I was working a commission-only job and barely making even enough to eat. So it was very taxing on me as a person, and especially as a man of the relationship, right? And I wasn't able to even provide for our relationship, provide for myself even. And that inner critic started getting louder and louder, that saying that I wasn't good enough. And it made me feel worthless and unlovable. And inevitably, it didn't take long before I became that, before I became worthless and unlovable. And my girlfriend and I, we split up. I got sent back to the USA, and no other option but to move into my parents' basement. And really, I felt so awful about myself, and this inner critic was just screaming at me one negative comment after another, and it actually forced me to drive away everything that I loved. And if I didn't have this voice and didn't let this voice own me, I really think that, you know, things would have been a lot smoother transition. I'm very happy with where I am now, but this inner critic really took over and started taking things away from me, things that I really loved and I adored. You know, it actually affected my health to the point where I got physically sick because this inner critic got so loud. So back in New York, I took on another commission-only job, which of course was below the poverty level because that's where my mind was at. That's what I was worth. And things got so bad that I felt like I had nothing at all to lose. And that was kind of a cool spot to feel like I didn't have anything to lose because it gave me, you know, there's only up from here. But I actually spent so many nights sitting there, drinking 40s, smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, hanging out with some friends, just getting drunk every single night, getting wasted every night, thinking that there was nothing better than this. I'd sit there and watch them play video games. I wasn't even the player. I'd watch them play the video games because I was so miserable. I couldn't even be the player of the games, right? I had this voice just constantly nagging at me. And then one day, I realized that this voice that I was listening to wasn't real. It was just one of many voices that passed through our heads. And it's this one that I just kept giving more and more and more and more and more attention to. And as I gave it more attention, it really became more and more real. And I was able to, through a series of mishaps, of doing things wrong consistently, but finding one or two things just to kind of quiet that voice and find attention in with some other voices that were more positive about what I was capable of and who I really was. This voice, you know, it was not me. It was just this belief I had developed because of something else that had happened way earlier in the past, and I won't get into that now, but this belief that I had developed, I let this thing get so loud and take over me. And it took me about a solid year to claw out from underneath that rock, from underneath that place of discomfort. And within that year, I had built a company. I had amazing people surrounding me, and the company was also very profitable. I got my own apartment, but it took a lot of work, a lot of finesse. So what I've done is I've really broken down the things that I did that worked and some of the things that didn't work, and realized what I can do and share with other people so that if you have an inner voice that ever takes over and holds you back, that there's so many techniques to get control of that guy, and if it's gotten out of control already, it's so easy to do. You just have to start putting the wheels in motion to do it and put in the time to do it. So that's why I put together this free webinar that I'm doing on Thursday, and I hope you join me for it. It's completely free, and I'm just going to talk to you about specific techniques that I have used that have helped me quiet that voice, and actually not only quiet that voice, but change what that voice is saying so that it's more empowering things, so that when I feel something that gives me any bit of resistance that is holding me back, that I know that this is the thing. This is the thing I need to do because it's going to make me stronger. It's going to make me a better person. But it's very hard to do on your own. And there's plenty of information out there. You can watch a bunch of YouTube videos. You can watch a bunch of my videos, and it'll get you some pieces. But this webinar that I'm going to do on Thursday is going to completely focus on fear. I'm going to talk about it biologically, how it affects us, and how it makes it so our brains literally don't work. Our muscles don't necessarily work in the way we want them to, and we can't think accurately. So if you want to join for that video on Thursday, there's links posted up here, and I'd love to have you on there. feel free to write any questions you might have about that inner critic, because the reality is we all get that inner critic, and sometimes it can be our biggest foe, but when played with right and talked to right and listened to correctly, you can manage it. It can be your biggest ally, and it can drive you to do things you never even thought were possible. So I hope that you take a minute and sign up for that now, and join me either Thursday morning or Thursday evening. It's going to be an hour long. I'll answer a bunch of questions for you. I'll give you some real life examples, and I'll give you some tools that you can take away to get that inner critic to be your inner ally, so that you can live a strong, empowered life and live your truth and who you really are. I'm really excited about all the people that have signed already. A bunch of people have sent me questions already, and it's just going to be a great program. And I want to just spread this to as many people as possible, because at the end of the day, I'm going to encounter you in life, and when I see your light shining, that's only going to shine back and empower me and inspire everybody else around you and make this world a better place. I believe we can do it one person at a time, and it actually makes a difference. But this is a great way to do it as a group, and I look forward to your participation and feedback. You have a great day, and see you Thursday morning.